I always kind of knew that there was something going on below the surface. I always kind of knew that there was some kind of creation or something around us. Really couldn't put my finger on it. I had heard a long time ago that, oh, your thoughts are, manifestations and all this kind of crap. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the type of person to just believe what I hear. I have to experience it for myself. Very hard-headed that way. So there's been a couple things that have happened, but just like everybody else, I can dismiss things, based upon, well, there's not enough evidence there. And, well, one time, this is a couple years ago, absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is happening. So I'm driving along in the mountains. It was a sunny day. Everything was just normal. And then the clouds come in, which is normal in Arizona. You could have a storm, in a pretty quick amount of time in the mountains. So it started getting like that. Then it started getting a little foggy, and I'm getting through this little mountain pass. And I see something up ahead. I don't know what it is because it's pretty far ahead. And, I got windshield wipers on, and it was just clear. I can see, it's clear enough to where I can see a couple 100 feet easy. But it's still a little misty. And I look ahead, I'm like, what the hell is that? And it looks like there's, I would say, I don't know, a 5-foot or 10-foot diameter glass clear bowls that maybe would hold, I don't know, 50 gallons each. And they're suspended in midair. There's several of them. It's almost like invisible hands are cupping this water. And it's just basically in there, and it's kind of running over the edges as if it has some invisible edge. And it's just kind of dripping down along with all the rain that's coming down. And I see it in front of me, and I just like, what are you going to say? I'm moving at 50 miles an hour or 45 miles an hour towards that. And the closer I get to it, as soon as I get near that, from the side, it sideswipes the front of my vehicle towards the edge of the drop off from the mountain, and kind of pushes me with a gust of wind. And then I regain control of the front of the vehicle. It wasn't that bad. And then I keep going. So I look at that, and the whole time, this happens at the speed of normal life. So it's not like you have all this time to compute what's going on. I had enough time, and it was far enough ahead that I could see and understand what was going on, even though I still question, because it doesn't compute with what we normally see in life. It wasn't anything physical. There was no magic trick. There was no nothing. It was out in the middle of nowhere. There was not even another car coming the other way or behind me or around me. It was just us. My wife was in the car, but she was sleeping. So she wasn't sleeping after that. But anyways, we're driving. I see that. We get down the hill, and by then it's kind of cleared up. It's pretty bright. And when I get to our destination, I write everything down, and I kind of recount what it was. Well, when you experience something like that, of course you question, and then you spend the time to kind of go back and think about the situation. And what I've forced myself to do over time, over many decades, is write down what I've experienced, remember what I experienced. I even I made a photo of it. So what I've done is I go back and I look at every instance. Okay, before, what was the weather like? During that drive, what did it really look like as I was approaching what I was seeing? And then as it affected me. How did it do that? And I wrote everything down, and as I left, what I felt like right afterwards, because I think I used my my phone recorder to record my account right after the moment. So what this comes down to is, I've talked about many times about getting control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. It's not just surface level. I mean, for us controlling it, yeah, that's obviously a very important part. But it's also below the surface. And that's the below the surface part is the more difficult part. That's the part that most people may never either completely understand for themselves, or they might not ever believe it because they either don't have any proof or they don't put enough time into it to find the proof. So getting below the surface is the most important part, and understanding that there is another level of what we're doing. And once you begin to get control of that, then maybe and I'm sure a lot of people have seen evidence of things happening. Now, let's look at it in a regular daily fashion. Maybe there's an intersection near you, and that intersection seems to be, it could be a four-way stop or a stoplight, and it could be, well, that's just seems like it's a magnet for accidents. You have one accident there, the next thing you know, you got 4, then you got 20, then you got 30. It's like, no matter what, people are, for some reason, accidents are happening at that intersection at a really high rate. A lot of times what happens is, now if you go to an intersection and you have a little fender bender, it's no big deal. Everybody kind of just, shuffs it off and moves on, then it's not a big deal. But once you start having accidents where people's lives are in jeopardy, and there's a lot of damage, and people are being affected, then there's an imprint. There's usually some kind of an imprint left at that situation, because people are being emotionally charged. That way they're allowing energy to either, they're emotional. And that is in the area. That affects the general range in that area. I've talked about the general range before. When you think, you feel, you're emotional, it affects the energy fields around you and around us. And that's the same thing when you go somewhere. People say like, attracts like. Well, if you have a lot of bad feelings or depression or emotional contacts in this area, then when people enter that area, if they're emotionally charged similar to what that frequency range is, then they're going to be affected at some level, whether it invites them into that accident or whatever. Like attracts like, kind of like negative and positive. So here we're in these situations, and it could be, and the situation I was in, I wasn't in a terrible mood. I wasn't in a negative mood. I was just in a normal mood. Here I am driving through this area. Now, there could have been fatalities in the past in that area. There could have been a lot of things going on. I don't know what the whole reasoning behind my experience was, but I could potentially attribute it to that. But the fact of the matter is it was a non-physical force directly affecting our physical world. So whatever non-physical force was holding that water and then releasing it as I was passing by onto my vehicle along with wind, that was affecting the physical. And most of us would not really either believe or accept it as well, that something non-physical can affect the physical. They think of ghosts and that sort of thing. This wasn't a ghost. It was broad daylight. And it wasn't, a wish of air. This was a lot more deliberate, and it was I could physically see it because it was withholding water, large amounts of water, in separate, like, bowls almost, it looked like. So whatever that was, it was obviously non-physical, and it was completely affecting the physical in that moment. And it probably, from what I know of, the fact that it lasted, I would say, I don't know, from the time that I first saw it until it affected me, until I got away, it was probably, 30 seconds, a minute, maybe more. I don't know. I don't know time-wise. But it's our intent and not our intent, because we have thoughts all the time and feelings and emotions just haphazardly happening because we're used to that. We can affect that. Other people can affect that range. And then also, there are other things that are probably not controlled by us at any point or created by us that are out there. Obviously, there is more out there that we don't see than what we see. So not only do we have to be cognizant of our own creations, but also be cognizant of the creations that we didn't have anything to do with. So we're being affected not only by ourselves, but by others and other things. But if we can get in control of our thoughts, emotions, and feelings, don't you think if you can control those, and you get good at controlling those and creating those, then you might be able to be good at something other than that? So this is where we're getting with the solution and this and many other things. We are training ourselves through discipline and other means in order to get what we want, whether it's bringing our energy back or creating things of a nature that will assist either. I'm not talking about like another creature that's doing it, but what I'm saying is creating our own thoughts and everything that are positively affecting us, that are going to positively affect those around us. So what we're doing is we're training ourselves to regain our abilities to create. If those non-physical beings can affect our physicality, then why can't we? That's the reality of our situation. We really do it all the time. We're just are unconsciously doing it on a regular basis. We're always doing it. It's more not our intent to do it because we don't realize we're doing it. It's almost like having somebody discovering electricity, but not knowing how to use it properly. Or if you want to make a device that blows air and you have electricity, but you don't have a motor or a fan blade, then the electricity doesn't help you. So you have to create what's the proper instrument in order to create what you want. So you have to go through the process of creating in a certain fashion in order to get what you want. So just trying to get people together to the thoughts and feelings and emotions control, it's not just an exercise, and it's not just for your physical life. This is for us to train ourselves, like I said, in order for us to get ourselves in line. And understand, and a lot of us have already had experiences where, you'll see things or you have experiences, but is it in the physical? Maybe it has been, maybe it hasn't been. But just understand that even that we can have experiences, seeing with the third eye or something, but it's also possible to see things with your physical eyes in the physical world, and these can physically affect you. And these are the ones that we need to be more aware of. And when you experience them, just be aware of what the potential is.